The underestimated species captain Elena Rodriguez walked through the massive corridors of Nexus Prime, the galaxy's most prestigious trade station. Her simple uniform looked plain compared to the elaborate outfits worn by the alien delegates. Around her, the station was a marvel of engineering, built by a coalition of 12 different species, each contributing their most advanced technologies. Floating platforms carried beings that looked like living crystals, while others appeared to be made of pure energy. The diversity was overwhelming, but Elena kept her expression neutral and professional. Her assistant, Lieutenant Marcus Chun, followed close behind carrying a basic data pad that looked ancient compared to the holographic displays the other species used. The human delegation had arrived in a modest transport ship that barely registered on the station's sensors compared to the massive vessels belonging to other civilizations. Everything about their appearance was designed to seem unremarkable, even primitive by galactic standards. The main conference hall was enormous, with seating arranged in concentric circles around a central presentation area. Representatives from dozens of species filled the space, their conversations creating a symphony of different languages and communication methods. Some spoke in melodic tones, while others communicated through color changes in their crystalline bodies. Elena found her assigned seat in the outer ring, a placement that clearly indicated humanity's low status in the galactic hierarchy. Ambassador Kyrith of the Kelphin Republic was the first to address the assembly. The crystalline beings' bodies sparkled with internal light as he spoke, his voice resonating through translation devices worn by all attendees. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced technology and their insufferable arrogance about their achievements. Every Kelphin believed their species was naturally superior to all others, and they never missed an opportunity to demonstrate this belief. "Welcome, fellow beings, to another productive trade summit," Kyrith announced, his crystalline form pulsing with different colors. "We have much to discuss regarding the expansion of our mutual prosperity. However, I notice we have some new faces among us today." His attention turned toward the human section, and Elena could feel the weight of dozens of alien gazes focusing on her small delegation. "The humans have requested permission to address this assembly," Kyrith continued, his tone carrying barely concealed amusement, "while their species is certainly enthusiastic about joining galactic civilization. I wonder if they truly understand the level of sophistication required for meaningful trade relationships." Elena stood up, her simple uniform and basic equipment making her look almost comically out of place among the advanced aliens around her. She activated her primitive-looking presentation device, which projected crude holographic images that flickered and wavered compared to the crystal-clear displays other species used. The contrast was deliberate, carefully calculated to reinforce the impression that humans were technological children playing in an adult galaxy. "Honored representatives," Elena began, her voice steady despite the condescending stare she was receiving. "Humanity comes before you today seeking trade partnerships that could benefit all our civilizations. We offer raw materials, agricultural products, and manufacturing services. Our worlds are rich in resources, and our people are hardworking and reliable." A sound that could only be described as laughter rippled through the assembly, though it came from beings who expressed amusement in ways Elena had never imagined. The Kelphin's crystals chimed like windmills, while the energy beings flickered rapidly in patterns that somehow conveyed mockery. General Vaxer of the Vorthic Confederacy rose from his seat, his reptilian form towering over most other beings in the hall. His species had built their empire through military conquest, and they respected only strength. The general's scarred hide and battle-worn armor told the story of countless victories against species foolish enough to oppose Vorthic expansion. "Captain Rodriguez," Vaxer said, his voice a low growl that the translators struggled to process. Your species offers raw materials and manual labor. These are the contributions of servants, not partners. The Vorthic Confederacy has observed human technology, and we find it ... quaint. Your ships move through space using chemical propulsion. Your weapons fire metal projectiles. Your computers require physical components to function. The general activated his own display system, showing detailed scans of human vessels and installations. The images revealed ships that looked like they had been assembled from spare parts, defensive platforms that appeared barely functional, and industrial facilities that seemed to operate through brute force rather than elegant engineering. Every piece of human technology looked crude and inefficient compared to alien alternatives. Perhaps, Vaxer continued with what might have been a smile on his reptilian features, humans would be better suited to positions that match their technological development level. The Confederacy is always in need of miners, construction workers, and maintenance personnel. Such roles would allow your species to contribute to galactic civilization in ways appropriate to your capabilities. Ambassador Zephyr of the Etherian Collective drifted forward, her energy-based form shifting through different spectrums of light. The Etherians considered themselves the most enlightened species in the galaxy, having transcended physical form millions of years ago. They viewed all corporeal beings as primitive, but humans seemed especially backwards to their advanced sensibilities. The humans do display remarkable determination, Zephyr observed, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. To travel so far with such limited technology shows a spirit that could be ... useful. However, their recent encounter with Vorthic scouts raises questions about their ability to survive in a galaxy where strength determines survival. Elena kept her expression neutral, but inside she was taking careful note of every comment and observation. The aliens thought they were dismissing humanity, but they were actually providing valuable intelligence about their own assumptions and blind spots. Every species in the hall was revealing how they thought, how they evaluated threats, and most importantly, how they underestimated others. Marcus leaned close to Elena and whispered in her ear, speaking in a code that sounded like casual conversation, but actually contained important information. Research Station Omega-7 reports Vorthic fleet movements in Sector 15. They seem to be testing our response times. Elena nodded slightly, acknowledging the intelligence while maintaining her role as a simple trade representative. Research Station Omega-7 was supposedly a basic scientific outpost studying asteroid compositions, at least according to the information available to alien intelligence services. The reality was considerably different, but the aliens had no way of knowing that. Kyrith spoke again, his crystalline body now displaying patterns that indicated smug satisfaction. Perhaps we should be more specific about human limitations. Your fastest vessels require months to travel between neighboring star systems. Our ships can cross the galaxy in days. Your most powerful weapons cannot penetrate basic shield technology that we developed centuries ago. Your sensors cannot detect cloaked vessels, and your communication systems are vulnerable to the simplest electronic warfare techniques. Ambassador paused, allowing his words to sink in before delivering what he clearly thought was a devastating conclusion. Humans represent exactly the kind of species that natural selection eliminates from advanced civilizations. You are slow to adapt, limited in imagination, and bound by physical constraints that more evolved beings have long since overcome. Elena stood up again, her basic uniform wrinkled from the long journey to the station. Ambassador Kyrith General, Vaxer, Ambassador Zephyr, I thank you for your candid assessment of human capabilities. We understand that our technology appears primitive compared to your achievements. However, humanity has always believed that actions speak louder than words. She activated her communication device, sending what appeared to be a simple status request to human space. The transmission was broadcast openly, with no encryption or security protocols that the aliens could detect. To any observer, it looked like the basic communication methods of a technologically limited species. "I have just contacted our research station in the outer system," Elena announced. "Station Omega-7 is conducting mineral surveys in the asteroid belt. Perhaps some of your representatives would be interested in observing our mining operations. It might give you a better understanding of what humans can contribute to galactic trade." General Vaxer's eyes gleamed with predatory interest. A human research station would be the perfect target for a demonstration of Vorthic superiority. His ships could destroy the facility without breaking stride, showing the entire galaxy what happened to species that failed to acknowledge Vorthic dominance. The general was already composing the victory message he would broadcast, after eliminating another example of human presumption. "Captain Rodriguez," Vaxer said with mock formality, "the Vorthic Confederacy would indeed be interested in observing human operations. Perhaps we could arrange a military escort for your research station. The outer systems can be dangerous for vulnerable ... installations." Elena smiled, and for just a moment, something flickered in her eyes that might have been anticipation. "General, we would welcome any opportunity to demonstrate human capabilities to the galactic community. Station Omega-7 will be expecting visitors." The communication device on Elena's wrist chimed with an incoming message. She glanced down at the simple text display, her expression remaining neutral as she read the words that appeared. To any alien observer, the message looked like basic operational updates from a primitive outpost. The reality was quite different. "Honored representatives," Elena said, addressing the assembly one final time. "I believe this summit has been very educational for all parties involved. Humanity looks forward to future interactions with your civilizations. We hope that our next meeting will be ... illuminating for everyone concerned." As Elena and Marcus left the conference hall, alien representatives were already making plans. The Kelthans discussed the profitable opportunities that human labor could provide. The Vorthics planned their demonstration attack on the research station. The Etherians debated whether humans were worth saving from their own limitations. None of them noticed the small smile that Elena allowed herself as she walked away, or the way Marcus's hand briefly touched the concealed communication device that was far more advanced than anything they had revealed to the aliens. Research Station Omega-7 waited in the darkness of space, its basic hull plating and simple design making it appear exactly like the primitive human facility the aliens expected to find. Inside, however, things were not quite what they seemed. The station's crew was making final preparations for visitors, and their preparations involved systems that no alien species had ever imagined possible. The trap was set, and the hunters were about to discover that they had severely misunderstood who was the predator and who was the prey. The revelation. 3 days after the trade summit, General Vaxer stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bloodhammer, watching his fleet approach the coordinates Elena Rodriguez had provided. The Vorthic War Fleet consisted of 12 heavy cruisers, each one capable of reducing a planet's surface to molten glass. Their weapons were charged, their shields were active, and their crews were eager for the easy victory their general had promised them. The human research station appeared on their screens exactly as expected. It was a simple, boxy structure with basic hull plating and primitive sensor arrays. Solar panels provided power, and small cargo shuttles moved between the station and nearby asteroids. Everything about it screamed technological backwardness and vulnerability. Several Vorthic officers made jokes about how their personal sidearms could probably penetrate the station's hull. "Communications Officer Krax," General Vaxer commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered dozens of worlds. "Open a channel to the human station. Let us give them one chance to surrender before we demonstrate the futility of resistance." The main screen flickered as the communication link established, revealing a human male in a simple work uniform. The man looked tired and worried, exactly what Vaxer expected from someone about to face the might of the Vorthic Confederacy. Behind the human, other workers could be seen moving about with the panicked efficiency of people who knew they were in serious trouble. "This is Director James Walsh of Research Station Omega-7, the human said, his voice steady despite the obvious fear in his eyes. "We are a civilian scientific installation with no military capabilities. Please state your intentions." General Vaxer allowed himself a predatory grin, his sharp teeth gleaming in the bridge lights. "Director Walsh, I am General Vaxer of the Vorthic Confederacy. Your species had the audacity to request trade partnerships with your betters at the recent summit. We have come to provide a practical demonstration of why such presumption is dangerous." He paused for effect, enjoying the way the human's face paled at his words. "You have 2 minutes to evacuate your station before we destroy it. This destruction will be broadcast throughout the galaxy as a lesson about the consequences of challenging Vorthic superiority." Director Walsh looked around his control center, apparently consulting with his staff. The humans seemed to be arguing among themselves, their voices too low for the Vorthic translators to process clearly. After a long moment, Walsh turned back to the communication screen. "General Vaxer, we cannot evacuate in 2 minutes. Our shuttles are not designed for rapid personnel transfer. We request additional time to ensure the safety of our research staff." Vaxer's laughter boomed through his bridge, and his officers joined in with their own expressions of amusement. The humans were begging for more time to run away from Superior Force, proving everything the Vorthics believed about the weakness of lesser species. "Director Walsh, your request is denied. The Vorthic Confederacy does not grant extensions to doomed species. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining." A general cut the communication link and turned to his weapons officer. "Commander, Vec, prepare the main plasma batteries. I want this station reduced to component atoms. Make sure our targeting systems record everything for the victory broadcast." Throughout the Vorthic fleet, weapon systems powered up with the distinctive whine of charging plasma conduits. Targeting computers locked onto the human station, calculating the precise firing solutions needed to ensure complete destruction. The 12 warships arranged themselves in a perfect attack formation, their hulls gleaming with the predatory efficiency of born killers. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, "we are receiving interesting readings from the station. Their power output seems to be fluctuating in strange patterns." General Vaxer glanced at the display showing the human facility. The simple solar panels were indeed showing irregular energy signatures, but that was hardly surprising. Primitive human technology probably couldn't maintain stable power under stress. "Irrelevant, Lieutenant. Prepare to fire on my command." The countdown reached 0, and General Vaxer raised his hand to give the firing order. At that exact moment, the space around Research Station Omega-7 began to ripple and distort, as if reality itself was being bent by invisible forces. The Vorthic sensors registered massive gravitational anomalies, but their instruments couldn't identify the source of the disturbances. "What are those readings?" Vaxer demanded, his confidence wavering for the first time as he stared at displays showing phenomena his ships couldn't explain. The answer came not from his officers, but from the space around the station itself. The simple human facility began to shimmer and fade, revealing something underneath that made every Vorthic crew member freeze in shock. Where a primitive research station had been moments before, a massive human warship now stood revealed. Vessel was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest Vorthic battleship. Its hull wasn't made of crude metal plating, but of some kind of adaptive material that seemed to shift and flow, like liquid while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing systems that operated on principles Vorthic science couldn't even begin to understand. Impossible, Vaxer whispered, staring at the massive human ship that had somehow been hiding in plain sight. Their technology cannot produce vessels of this sophistication. Director Walsh's image reappeared on the communication screen, but now he was wearing a uniform that looked nothing like the simple work clothes he had displayed before. Behind him, the control center had transformed from a basic research facility into something that looked like the nerve center of the most advanced military vessel ever constructed. General Vaxer, Walsh said, his voice now carrying the calm authority of someone completely in control of the situation. Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am Admiral James Walsh of the United Earth Space Navy, commanding officer of the UEC Prometheus. You have just had the privilege of witnessing our quantum stealth system in operation, the Vorthic weapons. Officer turned to his general with panic in his voice. Sir, our targeting computers cannot lock onto their vessel. Their hull seems to be absorbing our sensor beams and redistributing the energy. Our plasma batteries are having no effect on whatever kind of shielding they possess. Admiral Walsh continued his explanation while his ship began to move with impossible grace through the asteroid field. For the past 50 years, General, humanity has been allowing alien species to observe our primitive technology while we secretly studied and improved upon yours. Every encounter you thought you were winning was actually a learning opportunity. For us, the UE's Prometheus demonstrated capabilities that violated everything the Vorthics thought they knew about physics and engineering. The massive ship moved without visible propulsion, appearing to fold space around itself rather than pushing through it. When it fired its weapons, the effects were unlike anything in Vorthic experience. Asterisk. A single beam from the human ship struck the asteroid nearest to the Vorthic fleet, and instead of destroying it, the weapon somehow converted the entire rocky mass into pure energy, and then immediately reconstituted it as a perfect sphere of polished metal. The demonstration lasted only seconds, but its implications were staggering. Your plasma weapons work by superheating matter, Admiral Walsh explained conversationally. Our gravity manipulators work by restructuring matter at the molecular level. Your shields deflect energy. Our adaptive hull absorbs energy and converts it into additional power for our systems. General Vaxer found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. This is impossible. We have monitored human development for decades. Your ships use chemical propulsion. Your weapons fire metal projectiles. The ships you observed do indeed use those systems, Walsh confirmed. They were built specifically. For your observation, General, every human vessel that any alien species has ever detected was designed to appear primitive while concealing our true capabilities. The Prometheus moved closer to the Vorthic fleet, and as it approached, the alien sensors began registering readings that made no sense. The human ship seemed to exist in several dimensions simultaneously, its hull signatures shifting between states of matter that Vorthic science couldn't classify. Commander Deck, Vaxer ordered desperately, fire everything we have at that vessel. Full plasma barrage. The 12 Vorthic warships unleashed their combined firepower in a display that could have sterilized a continent. Hundreds of plasma bolts struck the human ship with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. The weapons simply disappeared as they hit the Prometheus's hull, absorbed and converted into power that made the human ship's systems glow brighter. Thank you for the energy donation, Admiral Walsh said politely. Our ship's power reserves are now at 112% of normal capacity. Throughout the Vorthic fleet, officers stared at their instruments in disbelief. Not only had their most powerful weapons failed to damage the human vessel, they had actually made it stronger. The technological gap they were witnessing was so vast that it challenged their understanding of what was possible. Admiral Walsh's expression became more serious. General Vaxer, you came here to demonstrate Vorthic superiority and to destroy what you thought was a defenseless human facility. Instead, you have discovered that humanity possesses technology that makes your fleet look like children's toys. The Prometheus extended what appeared to be some kind of energy field toward the Vorthite vessels, and suddenly every weapon system in the alien fleet simply shut down. Not damaged, not destroyed, but switched off as if someone had turned off. A power switch. The Vorthics found themselves completely helpless, floating in space with no way to defend themselves or escape. Your ships are now under our control, Walsh continued. Your crews are unharmed, but your vessels will not respond to your commands until we choose to release them. This is not an attack, General. This is a lesson. General Vaxer slumped in his command chair, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. His proud fleet, the terror of a dozen star systems, had been neutralized without a shot being fired in return. The humans he had come to eliminate as an example of weakness had just demonstrated technology so advanced that resistance was meaningless. What do you want from us? Vaxer asked, his voice hollow with defeat. Admiral Walsh smiled, and there was no cruelty in the expression, only a calm confidence that was somehow more intimidating than any threat could have been. We want the same thing we requested at the Trade Summit, General, partnership, but the terms have changed somewhat. Humanity is no longer interested in joining existing galactic organizations, Walsh continued. Instead, we are offering protection to any species willing to abandon aggressive expansion and respect the rights of other civilizations. The galaxy has operated under the principle that might makes right for too long. The communication screen split to show that this conversation was being broadcast throughout galactic space. Every alien civilization was watching as the most powerful military force in Vorthic history sat helpless before a single human vessel. To all species monitoring. This transmission, Admiral Walsh announced, humanity extends an invitation to a new kind of galactic community. One based on mutual respect rather than technological superiority. One where differences are celebrated rather than exploited. He turned his attention back to General Vaxer. Your fleet will be released in 1 hour, General. Use that time to consider whether the Vorthic Confederacy wishes to continue its policy of conquest, or whether you would prefer to explore more productive relationships with your neighbors. Throughout the galaxy, alien leaders watched the broadcast with a mixture of fear and awe. The species they had dismissed as primitive had just demonstrated technology that surpassed every advanced civilization in known space. The balance of power had shifted in a single moment, and nothing would ever be the same. On the bridge of the UE's Prometheus, Admiral Walsh turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Commander Park, signal the rest of the fleet. It's time for the full revelation. Across human space, 11 more vessels identical to the Prometheus began decloaking, their quantum stealth systems shutting down in synchronized sequence. The galaxy suddenly discovered that humanity possessed a fleet of ships that individually outmatched entire alien armadas. The quiet ones had finally spoken, and their voice echoed across the stars. Asterisk.